I still remember the day my world changed forever. It wasn't the kind of event you expect. No tragedy, no accident, nothing sudden or dramatic. It was, in fact, quiet. It was the kind of moment that you can't even describe clearly because it just feels wrong. I had always been close to my family, my mom, dad, and 2 siblings. We didn't have much, but we had each other. We had our struggles, sure, but we also had love, or so I thought. Then one night the phone rang. My dad had been feeling sick for weeks, but we thought it was just stress. He worked as a mechanic, long hours under tough conditions. But this time, the call from the doctor was different. "Mr. Ahmed, we need to speak with you. It's serious." I remember how I froze at those words. Serious? My dad was a tough man. He never got sick, but this time, the diagnosis was heart disease. They needed $30,000 for surgery. I was shocked, stunned. My parents had always been the ones who helped me. When I needed school fees, when I was in trouble, when I felt lost. And now, it was my turn. I had saved up $20,000 over the past 2 years. It wasn't a lot, but it was all I had. Without thinking, I transferred every penny. I didn't even hesitate. My family was everything to me. This was what we did for each other. The surgery was a success. My dad recovered, slowly but surely. But it wasn't just his health that was changing. Everything around me was shifting too. At first, my family was grateful. My mom, my dad, even my younger brother and sister. They all thanked me. They said I was a hero. They said I saved Dad's life. But then, something happened. Slowly, their gratitude began to fade. And in its place, something else. I noticed my younger brother, Ali, started acting distant. We used to joke around, hang out on weekends, talk about anything and everything. But now, he avoided me. He didn't even want to hang out. My sister Sana, who had always been the sweet one, began making snide comments. "You always act like you're better than us now," she said one evening when I came home. I was taken aback. "What do you mean? I'm just helping." "You helped us, sure. But it's more than that, isn't it? You think you're so much better because you live in the city with your fancy job," she spat. Her words stung, but I tried to brush it off. This wasn't about me. It was about Dad, about saving him. But as days passed, the tension grew. My family became colder. My mom was the worst. She started to speak to me like I was a stranger. She stopped looking me in the eye. I felt like a ghost in my own home. The final straw came one evening when I came back late from work, exhausted after a long day. I walked into the house and immediately noticed something was off. There was a strange, uncomfortable silence in the air. My mom was sitting at the kitchen table looking more tired than usual, but her eyes were sharp, like she had made a decision. "Sit down," she said, not even looking up. I felt my heart race. I knew something was wrong. I sat across from her. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Your dad and we've been talking," she said slowly, her words measured, careful. "And we think it's time for you to leave." For a moment, the world around me went completely still. My body froze, and I couldn't process what she had just said. "What? You're telling me to leave?" She nodded, her face almost emotionless. "Now." "You've done enough. We appreciate the money you gave us, but this is too much. You've changed, and we don't know who you are anymore." I stood up, a wave of confusion crashing over me. "How can you say that? I gave you everything. I saved Dad's life. And now you're telling me to leave?" My voice cracked, and I could feel my anger rising. Do you think we don't see it? You're not the same. You come home late. You talk down to us. You act like you're better because of your job, your life, she said, her voice cold now. That's not true, Mom. I've been here for you. I've done everything I could. Everything? Or just what you thought would make you feel good about yourself? She stood up suddenly, her chair scraping the floor. You've been selfish. You think you're a hero, but you're not. You just wanted to feel important. Her words hit me like a slap to the face. I'm selfish? After everything I did? I turned to walk away, but she called after me. We don't need you here anymore. I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight, my eyes burning with frustration and confusion. I walked out of the house, my mind spinning. I didn't know what had happened. It was like a switch had been flipped. They didn't even care about the sacrifices I had made. They didn't see it. As I stood outside, staring at the empty street, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't over. I had given them everything, and they had thrown me out. But they had forgotten one thing. They had forgotten that I had my own strength now. I had learned the hard way that family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, trust, and loyalty. And they had lost all of that. I was done playing their game. This was my story now, and I wasn't going to let them dictate how it ended. The night air felt colder than usual as I walked away from my family's house, but I couldn't tell if it was the weather or the weight of betrayal that made it feel so biting. I had given them everything, my money, my time, my energy, but in return, they had taken it all, and then, as if I was nothing more than an afterthought, they had thrown me away. I didn't know where to go. The streets felt unfamiliar, almost hostile, even though I had walked them 1,000 times before. I didn't have a plan, no place to stay, but I couldn't go back. Not to that house, not to them. It was a brutal, cold reality to face. I was homeless, not physically, but emotionally. I had given them everything, and in return, I was left with nothing. But there was a fire inside me now, a fire I hadn't felt before. The rage had settled into something deeper, something darker. I wasn't just angry. I was determined. They thought they could break me. They thought I was weak. But they didn't realize something that I had only just started to understand myself. I was stronger than they could ever imagine. I walked for hours, letting the city swallow me whole. I didn't know where I was going, but I kept moving. I found myself standing in front of an old, run-down apartment building in the middle of a district I didn't recognize. The place looked like it had been abandoned for years, the windows cracked, the doors hanging off their hinges. But it was quiet, peaceful even, and something about the place called to me. I had nowhere else to go. I didn't even know how I had ended up here, but the decision felt right. I walked inside, the hallway dimly lit by flickering lights, and I made my way to the only apartment that had a light on. I knocked, unsure of what to expect. A few moments passed before the door creaked open, and a woman appeared. She was older than me, maybe in her late 30s, with messy brown hair and tired eyes. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice rough, as if she had just woken up. I didn't know why, but I blurted out the truth. I've been kicked out of my home. I don't have anywhere to go. I need a place to stay just for a little while. She studied me for a moment, her eyes scanning my face, then nodded. "You can come in, but I don't have much. Just don't expect luxury." I stepped inside, grateful and a little embarrassed. The apartment was small, but it was cozy. It smelled like cinnamon and coffee, and there was a warmth to it that made me feel safe. Her name was Sarah. She was kind enough to offer me a cup of coffee and a place to sleep for the night. We didn't talk much at first. She didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer any answers. But as the night wore on, I found myself opening up to her. I told her everything. How I had given my family all my savings, how they had discarded me without a second thought, and how they had made me feel like I was nothing. She listened quietly, her face unreadable, but there was a certain understanding in her eyes. "You're not nothing," she said softly, almost as if to herself. "You gave them everything, and they still couldn't see it. But you're not broken. You're stronger than that. And if you keep living for them, you'll never be free." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. She was right. I had been living for them, for their approval, for their love. I had sacrificed everything, and in the end, it still wasn't enough. But it could be enough for me. I didn't need them anymore. The next few days, I stayed with Sarah. I didn't rush to find a job or get back to the life I had left behind. Instead, I spent time thinking, reflecting. I learned more about Sarah during that time. She was a survivor too. She had faced her own battles and lost everything she had at one point. But she had rebuilt her life. She had found strength in herself. And that's exactly what I needed to do. One morning, I woke up with a sense of clarity that I hadn't had before. It was time to stop playing their game. It was time to start playing mine. I had one chance to build my future, to rewrite my story. And I wouldn't let anyone, especially my family, dictate how it would unfold. I started small. I took a part-time job at a cafe just to get by. But I used every free moment to learn more about business, marketing, design. I didn't have a formal education in anything, but I had a hunger to learn. I started taking online courses in my free time, studying what I needed to make a real change in my life. The more I learned, the more confident I became. I began to see the possibilities. The world wasn't as small as I had once believed. I wasn't stuck in that tiny town anymore. I had options. I had control. And then, months later, something unexpected happened. I received a message from my mother. It was short. A simple text. "We're sorry. We need to talk." For a moment, I considered ignoring it. They had treated me like I was disposable. But something inside me knew that this was a crossroads. This wasn't just about them anymore. This was about me. It was about the woman I had become, the woman they had underestimated. I didn't answer right away. I needed time to think. Did I want them back in my life? Did I need them? As I sat with that question, I realized something. The answer didn't matter. I was stronger than I had ever been before. I knew now that no matter what happened next, I would be okay. I had built my life from the ground up. They had kicked me out, but in the end, it had been the best thing that ever happened to me. Because they had forgotten one thing. They had underestimated my power. The message from my mother sat on my phone for days like a weight I couldn't escape. I had spent the last few months building something new, something stronger. I had faced my fears, embraced the struggle, and made a life for myself. But no matter how far I ran, no matter how many walls I built around myself, that single message gnawed at the edges of my peace. "We're sorry. We need to talk." For weeks I fought the urge to reply, to let them back into my life. I had worked so hard to forget them, to move forward, and the thought of facing them again brought back the anger and pain that I had buried. But in some quiet, vulnerable part of me, I knew that ignoring them forever wasn't the answer either. One rainy evening, I found myself sitting in the small cafe I'd been working at, staring out the window, lost in thought. My phone buzzed again. This time with a call. My heart skipped a beat as I saw the name flash across the screen. Mom. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the answer button. But then I remembered what Sarah had told me. You're stronger than that. I wasn't the same person who had left. Then behind all those months ago, I had changed, and I had earned the right to make my own decisions. I answered. Mom, I said, my voice steady, though my heart was racing. Is this really you? Her voice sounded small, almost like a whisper. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Please, listen to me. We need to talk. I felt a surge of bitterness, but I pushed it down. What is it, Mom? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When she spoke again, her voice trembled, and for the first time in months, I heard vulnerability in it. We made a mistake, your father and I. We were wrong to push you away. I'm sorry. We didn't see how much you gave, how much you sacrificed. We were selfish. I felt something stir in me. Part of me wanted to believe her. But then, another part of me couldn't forget how they had treated me. I thought about all the sleepless nights I had spent helping them, how they had kicked me out when I had nothing left to give. Why now? I asked, my voice quiet. Why after everything? We've had time to think. I've had time to think. I realized that what we did, it was unforgivable. You were right to leave, but I need you to know, I've always loved you. We've always loved you, and I regret how we treated you. I felt a lump form in my throat, but I swallowed it down. This wasn't about me needing their love or their approval anymore. It wasn't about the apology that I had craved for so long. It was about me, about the woman I had become, and the life I was building. Mom, I'm not the same person I was when I left. I've learned a lot about myself in these months. And I can't go back to what we had. I can't let you pull me back into that life. There was silence on the other end. I could hear her breathing softly, and for a moment I thought she might cry. But then, her voice came through again, steady and resigned. I understand, she said softly. I just wanted to tell you that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the woman you've become, and I hope one day we can find a way to be a family again. My heart tightened, but I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't sure if I ever would. After a few moments of silence, I spoke again, my words careful but firm. I don't know what the future holds, Mom, but I'm not going to let my past control me anymore. I have my own life now. Take care of yourself, dear, she said, and know that we're here, whenever you're ready. The call ended, and I sat in the quiet cafe, processing what had just happened. My mind was a whirl of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion, but also something else, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. For the first time since I left, I felt like I had finally closed that chapter. It wasn't about forgiveness or forgetting. It wasn't about them or what they wanted. It was about me, about reclaiming my power, my choices, and my future. I knew I was never going to be the person I was before they kicked me out. I had walked through fire to get to where I was now, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that from me. Not even them. The sun began to set outside the cafe window, casting a golden glow across the street. I took a deep breath, staring out into the horizon. There were still so many things I wanted to do, so many dreams I wanted to chase. And now, I knew that I could do them on my own. I didn't need approval, or validation, or love from anyone other than myself. The woman I was becoming didn't need anyone's permission. As I stood up to leave, I felt lighter. The weight of the past, the guilt, the pain, it was all slipping away. The only thing that mattered now was the future, and it was mine to write. Moral of the story. The story highlights a powerful lesson about self-worth, personal growth, and resilience. Here's a breakdown of the key morals. Self-sacrifice shouldn't be taken for granted. The protagonist sacrifices everything to help her family, only to be abandoned and treated unfairly in return. This teaches us that while helping loved ones is important, it's equally essential to recognize when our efforts are not being appreciated or respected. We shouldn't lose ourselves in the process of trying to please others. Personal growth comes from painful experiences. Sometimes the hardest experiences, like being rejected or betrayed, can lead to the most significant personal growth. The protagonist's journey shows that by facing her pain and learning from it, she became a stronger, more independent person. Adversity can lead to empowerment if you choose to learn from it. You are enough on your own. The protagonist realizes that she doesn't need the approval or validation of her family or anyone else to feel worthy. True strength comes from within. It's a reminder that our self-worth shouldn't be defined by others' opinions or actions, but by our own sense of value and capability. Letting go of toxic relationships is necessary for healing. The protagonist doesn't let the pain of her family's betrayal hold her back. She makes the decision to move forward, not because she doesn't care, but because she understands that holding on to unhealthy relationships can prevent personal progress. Sometimes, walking away is the healthiest choice for your own well-being. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. While the protagonist doesn't hate her family, she chooses not to return to them or be a part of their toxic dynamics. Forgiveness is for you, not the other person. It's about freeing yourself from the past and finding peace, even if reconciliation isn't possible.